With a large selection of kaijus, Kaiju Universe has tons of different kaijus with unique play styles to choose from. Where there are some kaijus are very good for multiple reasons, whilst other kaijus just aren't that good for their share of reasons. Well, whether they do not perform well, they have a boring playstyle, or they are just simply weak compared to the other kaijus in the game. Now, Kaiju Universe's starters, let's call them that, don't have the most positive responses. While some kaijus are typically going to be better than others. What I just showed you was a short clip of Aurath, a simple kaiju that costs 450 G cells. How can this kaiju be good or bad? Well, how could it be good at all? It's super cheap. And obviously it's going to be ineffective at everything it fights, right? Right? Now, what could make a simple starter kaiju so good? I mean, if you look at it on paper, Aurath is a pretty basic kaiju. Aurath is a pretty basic moveset, having the first attack just be a bite that does some damage. A second move, which is a tail swipe, that does AoE. A third move, which is a stomp that has a pretty big radius, as you can see there. Its fourth move, which is a simple breath. That doesn't do too much damage, but has a pretty quick recharge to it. And a fifth move, which is sort of an AoE-ish ray that's not controllable with their mouse. It kind of goes like that. So, but Aurath has two secret weapons in its sleeve. Here is the cooldown for the first attack. Notice anything extraordinary? It attacks really fast. Yeah. And the second move gets even crazier. So I showed you guys that the second move was just this little tailspin right here. That honestly looks pretty bad because, well, it swings slowly. Just look at this here. Yeah, I went from all the way over there to over here with one move. And I'll do it again here. As you can see, we are at this tree right here. Yeah. Pretty far. Now, how is Aurath any good because of this? Well, there are other kaijus, like Abelcross, that have their own gimmicks, like being able to go underground and escape danger and get their charge back, or, well, Akatsume, doing big up-close damage, but kind of falling apart in the range department. Well, there's a difference between these kaijus. You see, Abelcross and Akatsume, they 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 could beat Aurath in a fight. It's not impossible, but not everything about a kaiju is determined by how good it is at fighting. Aurath is one of, in my opinion, the strongest starter kaijus. due to these abilities it has here, making it pretty good. Because usually older kaijus are very spammy, and Aurath is definitely a good example of that. Having literally the spammiest playstyle in existence. Like, what? Super spammy, just very strong in terms of in face DPS, and it also has some ranged artillery, like the fourth move being a beam, which, yeah, it isn't the strongest beam. It's kind of mediocre, not doing too much damage, but its recharge rate is really good. It has one of the best beam recharges, only lasting a little over 20 seconds in the recharge department. Very good, if I would say so. And the fact that Aurath's beam has really no startup delay like Ultima, or doesn't last too long either, like some other kaijus. Now, in order to use your fifth move, it does require the fourth move to be recharged back up to its full charge to use the fifth move, which is a drawback. It's a pretty annoying drawback, but it's fine because you're only really going to be using the fifth move in certain situations. Since it isn't always going to be your go-to move. I would say the second move is always going to be your primary move. Unless if you're in a ranged fight. Well, it is still decent in the ranged department because you can go in and attack Kaijis and immediately, like, fall back out of position. But Aurath is very just it's good all around. But back to the point I was saying, a kaiju being good doesn't always determine its PvP viability. The kaiju could be better in other utility-wise ways. Like, for example, Aurath is used to obtain many kaijus. In order to obtain Rhaegar, you must have Aurath at level 30, I believe. I do not remember off the top of my head because I instantly bought it, Rhaegar, because, well, my Gojira was maxed ever since the game shut down when it was called Gojira. So, yeah. But Aurath is used to unlock tons of kaijus. Aurath also has a pretty easy to learn moveset, being kind of just spammy. You don't really have to get good with Aurath. You can automatically learn Aurath's playstyle within like 10 minutes. And then you have a solid kaiju that can, once at a decent level, can take out some of the other strong kaijus in the game. I would take Aurath over some of the mid-game kaijus, because Aurath is so viable in tons of situations that Aurath is definitely a good pick for all around. Being able to do over 1,000 damage in melee very fast, and I mean it, very fast. Some kaijus Aurath is not good against, but others, Aurath, like Akatsume or Voltidra, Aurath proves to be a very strong fighter against these kaijus due to, well, for Voltidra, Aurath just being a generally better version of Voltidra. As Aurath has better. Honestly, the range on Aurath might not generally be better, but Aurath just does everything besides range that Voltidra does. It just does it better. It has better melee, better utility purposes, and overall a better kaiju concept than Voltidra. Voltidra becomes almost useless when Aurath or even other kaijus like Applecross are brought into the picture. But this video isn't about Voltidra. It's about uh, Aurath. So is there anything else that defines Aurath as a good kaiju? Yes. Yes, there is. Aurath is also easily accessible, costing only 450 G cells. That's cheap. Very cheap. Very, very cheap. That is the technically not the cheapest kaiju, but in terms of G cells, it is the cheapest kaiju, with only Malasife and Ablecross being cheaper because Ablecross is free and you get Malasife when joining the game's group. But Aurath completely outshines these kaijus. Well, Malasive does get pretty close, in my opinion, due to its fast attack speed as well. And Malasive can fly, and any flying kaiju is usually very good. And Malasive having a beam also proves that point of Malasive being a good starter kaiju. And it's free. You just have to join the Pro Metal Games group in order to obtain Malasive. So, yeah. Malasive is... might not be the main center of this video, but... yeah. Aurath is just a good pick in general. That's gonna be it for me for this video. This is my first video revolving around Kaiju Universe. And, well, I was working on a video instead of this that was also about Kaiju Universe, which is going to be about a Katsume. I will redo that video eventually. It just won't come out this day. It might come out next week, depending on how I feel about releasing that video. Alright, that's gonna be it for me. See you all.